Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. A couple of days ago, I did a video for you about where are all the hurricanes? And my conclusion was that because there have not been as many chemtrails in the air, at least where I am in South Florida, that perhaps they weren't able to use that geoengineering to manufacture, augment, create, or enhance or steer these hurricanes. These pictures actually are from California, and many of you are telling me that the spraying in the skies is still ongoing where you are, even in Florida, even in Tennessee, even though Tennessee and Florida have passed legislation to ban this geoengineering. But you know, and I know that it really is nothing more than lip service, because the spraying in the skies and the skies themselves are under the purview of the federal government. So some of you said, well, maybe it's because the federal government is shut down, and that's why they haven't been doing the spraying. These pictures, as I say, are from Southern California. I want to thank everyone who has sent me photos, and you can do so at support at thehealthyamerican.org. I am glad that more and more conversations are happening at the state level, and that is a good thing, but I will not rest until these skies are clear. Now, following my video about the hurricanes, oh my gosh, I love my Healthy Americans. I have the best audience on YouTube. Take a look at some of these comments here. They must have had somebody call in. And then Virtual Dude said, Peggy, they are busy with other false flags. Mike says they could not have hurricanes interrupt Operation Charlie. And Swiss says, one crisis at a time. Fake neck attack can't share our attention with a hurricane. Well, I think you're onto something there, friends. What I've got for you here is actually a replay of one of my favorite videos about weather, and I call it Look at All Them Purdy Clouds. Now, because this was a broadcast that aired previously, I might make reference to certain days or times that are no longer accurate. For example, I now broadcast at 5 p.m. Pacific, no longer at 4 p.m. Pacific. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's one of my favorites. You're asking for more coverage on the weather, so that's what I'll do. And I will have a bonus video for you tomorrow, so please be sure to tune in. Till then, please enjoy Look at All Them Purdy Clouds. Let me know if you have a different name for this video. I titled it, Look at All Them Purdy Clouds, because we're going to take a look at some of these purdy clouds that people point to and say, look at that gorgeous sky, while I am rolling my eyes and feeling a little sick to my stomach because, well, let me just show you this image here, and we'll take a look at it together, shall we? And here we are. Isn't it neat how we pretend this isn't happening? That's the state of our skies. Yesterday, I did a video for you about these strange names, these weird weather words, and we're going to continue with some of your weird weather words. And we're going to be looking at them purdy clouds, and I'm going to share with you these names that the meteorologists are now giving the new clouds, because don't you know, God forgot to make some clouds earlier, and now there are new clouds that have come onto the horizon, literally. And I don't want this to be too snarky, because I would actually like to help educate those who are still in the dark, who really think that what they see in the sky is coming from jet airplanes. I have a list of, I don't know, half a dozen questions that I would ask these people, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. But do you know when the first classification of clouds was documented in history? Let me know in a comment if you know, and I will share that with you again. It is I'm wondering if this is a psyop as well, because the name of the book is, let me grab that for you. That is called The Essay on the Modifications of Clouds. Isn't that interesting? Essay on the Modifications of Clouds. And that was written in 1803. So it seems a little strange to me that that would be the name of it, but that's what the name is. Let me know in a comment the names of the clouds that you learned when you were in 4th grade. So I've got an image here for you that I want to share, and we're going to take a look at, these are the clouds. I don't even know if I was taught all of these clouds, but let's take a look-see. And then I want to share with you these other weird weather words that you shared with me that I didn't include in my video yesterday. And I really appreciate, I love my healthy Americans. You are so savvy, sophisticated, supportive, and a little snarky, just as I like it. So here we have cirro, okay, at the lowest level, stratus, stratocumulus, cumulus, and nimbostratus. All right. Maybe my memory is a little faulty, but I remembered the cumulus and the nimbus and the cirrus. So maybe I didn't do that well in geology, but here we have it in the lower levels of the atmosphere. And then we've got the middle, you've got the altostratus, the altocumulus, and then cirrostratus in the higher levels, cirrocumulus and cirrus. Now that looks pretty straightforward, but wait until I show you some images of the new clouds that have come on the scene. And certainly it has nothing to do with global boiling or what was I calling it? Climate warming and all of that other hogwash that we're being sloshed with. So let's first, I do want to talk about your words and then we'll look at the clouds. So big shout out to everybody that emailed me, support@thehealthyamerican.org, or you actually left a comment in the video and I read the comments within the first 24 hours, then I'm pretty much on to the next video, which is why I love when you're here live or when you watch the premiere. A premiere is basically a new video. It's just one that I recorded earlier that day, so I wouldn't get any lag from the live stream, which YouTube likes to give me interference. So hopefully this is streaming fine. Here we are. A lot of you asked me about the Pineapple Express. Now, this is something I had actually heard of because I've spent time in Hawaii and they talk about the Pineapple Express in terms of when you're out in the ocean and if you're kayaking and suddenly there is a current and it's like, maybe they call that the Tahitian Express. Maybe I got it wrong. Anyway, the Pineapple Express, we are told, is an atmospheric river that carries the weather and the system from Hawaii to the Pacific coast. And that's what we're told. That's the Pineapple Express. You reminded me of the rain bombs. And when you look for the definition, it says heavy rain. So they just have to create these words to scare everybody because then they can manipulate us more when they manipulate the language. It's so simple. You know, I had a couple of videos in the early years here on YouTube that were taken down because of all of the phrases that we were forced to deal with in the early days of the hogwashing. And YouTube did not like that at all. I might try to redo it in a more pleasant way to outwit the nitwits. How about this? Boiling oceans. Well, I haven't seen them boiling. Global boiling, that's a funny one. Mega flood. And when you look at the definition, it just means a large flood. Bombogenesis is basically a rainstorm. A heat dome is basically when it's hot. Jungle, now this is, others reminded me, a jungle is now called a rainforest. And instead of a forest fire, they're calling things wildfires. And they can't call it a forest fire because it's happening like, you know, in metropolitan cities in Chile, for example, and in downtown Lahaina, where there is no forest. So they're just calling them wildfires. Yes, because that's exactly what they are. Just happened, you know, or apparently they're arson. Yeah, you can set all these houses on fire very easily and nobody can put them out. That's what we're told. So what I want to do is continue to talk about these clouds, and then I'll give you the questions to ask people if they still have their heads in the clouds related to not realizing what's going on in the sky. So I'm going to go back. I will have all of this for you on my Substack. If you want to look at the images, if you want to have the links, that's where you will find it. And there was a really great meme that I cannot find right now. Many of you sent me images. Some are mine, some came from you. This is very recent. This was just about a week before these historic bomb cyclones in California. And look at this. I mean, it literally is like a tic-tac-toe grid. And if somebody right off the bat says, well, that's just from the condensation from the plane, you think those are actual flight patterns? Yeah, that would be a big NO. Those are not flight patterns. And if it did come from these airplanes, wouldn't the entire sky have even more. I mean, this is not far from LAX. They would be all over the sky. And no, that's not the case. This is actually, people have had the air tested and they find that there is barium and aluminum, which one of my Healthy Americans pointed out. The periodic table spells out BAAL for barium and aluminum, which is Baal, which is the god that all the bad guys and the evildoers want us to worship. So this is pretty bad. I mean, this one image I think is enough to say to somebody, do you think that looks normal? That would be a good opening question. Do you think that looks normal? Oh, it's just from the airplanes. Well, where are the airplanes? And why isn't it every single day? If it was normal, it would be every single day. Why doesn't it happen certain days? Well, it's probably the temperature. Oh, really? What does the temperature have to do with it? And if these are from the planes, why do they continue to spread and go over the sky? And why are there weather patents that have been around for weather modification? And why does Bill Gates give money to Harvard University for their solar screening program to block the sun? So I have so many questions, but let's just start with, does this look normal? And that would be also a big NO. So the funny meme that I had before I show you this one, there was a mom holding a child pointing at the sky saying, I see a snake and I see a rope. Because when we were kids, we would look at the clouds and say, oh, I see an angel, I see a dog, I see an elephant. You could make images out of the clouds. These are not clouds, friends. But they're trying to classify them as clouds. They're actually calling them contrail clouds. I'll show that to you in just a moment. It's stomach turning. Okay. You can't get any more blatant than this X. X marks the spot. I've done videos about X and the kind of, let me say, darkness that goes along with that. You think this is normal? You think this is a plane going straight up from the ground all the way straight up? That's exactly how planes take off. You're going to tell me that is from a jet? Seriously. That does not look normal. Now, this to me looks like waves, like energy waves, like radio waves. And I would like everybody to research that beautiful instrument that angels play. They play the harp, only it's spelled with 2 A's. And you can find the website in Alaska, which they, by the way, I believe are trying to dismantle because so many people have pointed it out. So this to me looks like energy waves that are carrying those elements, I'll just put it that way, across the sky. That does not remind me of when I was a child. That's another thing you can do. Go and look back at your pictures. These just came in. This is all recent. Look at this tic-tac-toe grid right here. It's literally a square. You're going to tell me that those are flight patterns for planes? Yeah, no. That doesn't happen like that, and not commercial jets anyway. I mean, look at this. This was taken from inside a car, so there is a little reflection of the windshield, but this is just despicable. The air is so dirty. And if it is the same atmosphere, why are these all looking different then? Why do these look different than these lines here and the crisscrosses? Are those the target where they're going to do the cloud seeding for these weather events? Again, here are these, what it looks to me like energy waves or radio waves, and more X's here. This is just a dirty sky. This is Southern California. This is Orange County. This is just a dirty sky with remnants of whatever they're spraying, which we know because it has been tested. Look at this. You're telling me that that is a plane. I don't think so. Thank you, everybody, for sending these to me. Here's another one. X marks the spot. Absolutely stunning. How about this one? All of the leftover from the previous spraying, and then they still had to go with more. If that's from a jet, that's pretty bad piloting. I'll just put it that way. Here's another one. Look at that. By the way, the sun looks white. All right. When I was growing up, the sun was yellow. And when we drew a picture of the sky, you had a blue sky with white puffy clouds and a yellow sun. Now you've got a white sky with a white sun. It's very sad. Look at this. This is not normal. This is not normal by any stretch of the imagination. Look at this. This is like faded, more faded away. Look at these lines. Again, just outside of LA. I think I had that twice. Okay, some of these might be duplicate. In case anybody forgot, these are actual clouds right here. And we're being told that these are clouds. You can see it for yourself. I just grabbed these off the internet in 1999, 2019, and of course, it's only getting worse, as I say. Worst is worse than worse. If this were from the jets, don't you think they would want to clean the air? They're telling us we have to be in electric vehicles because we're polluting the air, but those jets aren't now. I actually don't remember this guy, but it is, I've learned about him since. So this was some time ago. Bob Ross was a painter, and he's known for his kind of his colorful personality. And he taught people how to paint, not online because we didn't have it back then, but on TV, like public TV. And he always said, let's put in some little happy clouds, as the saying goes. And now he's showing you how to put in the happy little clouds. So I think that's pretty funny. And there we have it again. How is it we are pretending this isn't happening? Well, I'll tell you why. I think people don't want to face reality. And let me know why you think people don't want to acknowledge this. I think it's very difficult for people to really face the reality that there are bad guys that don't like us and want to harm us and want to do so by polluting the air, the water, the food. Those are the main things that we need to stay alive. They also want to pollute our minds, our emotions through fear. But what I think is really also happening with the obscuring of the skies, one of their reasons for doing it is it's very depressing when we don't see sunlight, when we don't see blue skies, or when you start out, you're like, oh, it's a beautiful day. And you run inside the grocery store and you come out, you're like, how did the sky get white? It's not even clouds that blew in, right? It used to be that clouds would blow in or they would form. Well, that's not really happening. It's coming like from the sky down. And that occlusion of the sun, the blocking of the sun creates, for me, a sense of depression. It's very demoralizing. Number one, I hate that they're doing it. Number two, I don't feel like I have any power to stop it, but I will show you in an upcoming video, not on this broadcast, but there is legislation in the state of New Hampshire that I hope is going to be pushed through, that can be modeled for other states. And I think that we do need to attack it from like the EPA and the Clean Air Act and all of that, because the air is not clean. It's clear. People, I'm getting so excited now. I'm getting tongue-tied. People have had the fallout from the skies tested to see those minerals. But going back to why people don't want to believe it, they want to live in their version of reality. They would rather remain naive and ignorant than to face the reality that the bad guys are out to get us. And because it is so widespread in every state, I've had people tell me that they moved to Tennessee and Oklahoma for the big skies, Montana, and that the skies were better, but that over the last several months, there's been a lot of spraying and it's getting more frequent and it's getting worse. And we're seeing all of the weather events getting worse as well. So I would connect the clots to say that definitely is connected. I've done many videos on this channel about the weather, about weather patents, about the artificial snow that they make, about Bill Gates and Harvard University. So I have a weather playlist, and if not, I'll put one together for you, and you can watch those as well. But I wanted to tie this into, and I want to share with you these funny names of clouds now that they're trying to pass for real clouds and how people are falling for it. How many of you have been with someone at a sunset and they're like, look at that beautiful sky? Or they'll share a picture on social media of the pink, which is not really natural. And that comes from phosphorus, my understanding, and other chemicals that they're spraying in the sky. And you just want to say to them, that is an artificial sky. People get psychologically defensive when you try to point out that the government is not on their side and that there are bad guys out to get them. So I don't know actually how to convince them other than to just start with some questions, such as, does that look normal to you? Somebody I know has a bumper sticker that says, look up. And she'll be in the car and at a stop sign or something, a red light, and she'll point up like this to have the people look up to the sky. And then she'll go like this. So little ways, like a drip, drip, drip method of getting people to kind of question it for themselves. There are many people that will literally shut you out when you try to have a conversation, and they'll put you and your thoughts and your perspective and your opinions and your facts into a bucket of conspiracy, and they won't even have the conversation. So the first question you could have is, I'm curious as to why you're unwilling to have a conversation about this. And you just let them say why. So it usually is fear-based. All right, let me do this. I want to share with you these crazy new names for clouds. And here we go. So this is from weather.com. So this is called a roll cloud, a volutus, because that sounds like roll. And that was in Virginia, September 2013. Here we have it. Yes, absolutely normal and natural, although I never saw one in childhood. Here we are. Asperitas, wave-like and roughness. It was added to the Cloud Appreciation Society. Yeah, I don't even know if this picture is authentic. That is so strange to me. All right, wall cloud with a tail cloud. Oh yes, tail clouds are a thing, don't you know? And here we have a wave cloud. It's one of the 5 special new clouds. And here we are, which is a contrail. Oops, I can't highlight that. Created by airplanes. So now they are actually categorizing the spraying in the skies and telling us that they are clouds. This is rather strange. Mammatus, I guess from like the mammaries. That's really weird. So when you go to cloudappreciationsociety.org, look what they have on here. I don't know if this is a psyop also, or if they're trying to rub people's noses in it, but they actually have, look at that. They actually have, it says contrail chaos all over the Sandia Mountains in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, if those are from contrails, those pilots need to go back to aviation school, because what is the airport right here? And they're all going out there in all these different directions. Yeah, no. So that's very bizarre. So it just goes on and on, friends, these made up names to try to normalize what is not normal. And what I want to do is share with you the questions that I came up with, and leave a comment on how you would have these conversations with people. So first of all, I'd ask them, I'd say, do you remember clouds like that when you were a kid? Just ask them that. It's such a simple, non-threatening, non-combative, non-conspiratorial statement. Do you remember clouds like that when you were a kid? They'll say, no, well, there's more planes in the sky. Okay. How come some days we don't see it? And they're going to go, well, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? They're going to change the subject because they don't have an answer. Yeah. So if it were from the airplanes, it would be every single day. And it would probably be more than that, because there are more planes than I counted contrails, especially leaving from Orange County Airport. My next question would be, aren't they in such weird directions? Are those the real flight patterns? And patterns. What's this X marks the spot and the tic-tac-toe and all of that? The X's. Why do these linger in the sky if it's just condensation, which is air and cold water, water vapor that should be evaporating? Why does it linger and fill the sky? How come we didn't have these when we were kids? Just asking. Just asking. How come it seems like whenever there's been a lot of this activity in the sky, then we have a lot of weird weather following it? Just asking. Hey, do you think the sun is yellow or white? Did you know that there are patents on weather modification? That might be a little too strong for them. There are so many patents on weather modification. And then the truth is, people have had the air tested. Now, I came to be interested in the spraying in the skies, oh my gosh, 15, 20 years ago, because I remember going to a friend's house and it was such a glorious day. I mean, come on, Southern California, that's why people live there. The blue skies, a very temperate climate called a Mediterranean climate. And, you know, rain occasionally in the winter, but just beautiful, beautiful, dry, warm, comfortable weather. And I remember on this glorious blue sky day going to a friend's house, and I was there for about an hour and a half. And when I left, the entire sky was white. And I'm not talking white puffy clouds, I mean a whiteout. And I was flabbergasted. I'm like, what happened? Was there an explosion? Where did this come from? There were no clouds that kind of grew and then connected or blew in. It literally went from a blue sky to a white sky. And I'm like, this is not normal. And I'm a person that likes to dig, that likes to research, and I know you do as well. And I had been a little like, things don't seem right, but that was really my tipping point. And then something else happened. I would notice on my windshield that there would be a white film frequently. And I'm like, where is this coming from? I'm not parked under any tree. What is this white filmy residue on my windshield? It was so bizarre. Oh my gosh, friends, I have so many more photos to share with you that I didn't have time to upload. I probably will do more, more videos on this, because I do really want to think about action steps that we can take. Yes, I am aware of what Renette Senham is doing. They've got attorneys that are going after smaller cases. I would like to see something more at a government level, but I'm in favor of action. So yes, I'm aware of all of that. And of course, as an educator, I want to educate people as to what's going on. But the residue would not only be on my car windshield, it would be in the air. Like the air itself seemed thick. It seemed like there were particles in the air. And when I show you some of these images, like if you're driving through this one place in Orange County where you're a little bit high and you can see below you there, Newport Beach and Irvine, it's got like all that white residue hanging. It's not smog. There are more electric vehicles, right, which have zero emissions. I talked about that. And all of these other ways that they've been cleaning the air. This is literally the particulate that is falling out from what was sprayed in the air. That really got me going. Then I saw all of this stuff on the grass. I would walk my dog Teddy in the morning, and I would see like cobwebs and other strange particles that would have dropped, to the ground. And that really troubled me as well. So many people have been aware of what's going on in the environment for many years. And I think these last few years, much of our attention was diverted to the cooties and trying to keep our bodies pure and not become a human pincushion. But more and more people are waking up to what's in front of their very eyes. The other thing that I noticed is that and not just, I'm not the only one that's noticed it. Many people have commented that speaking of the windshield, like if I were to drive, I don't know, to go visit somebody hour and a half away, by the time I arrived, there would be splattered bugs on the windshield and on the grill of the car. And I don't even recall the last time that there was a splattered bug on my windshield. Do you? I don't. And it's very strange. There are very, very few insects around. I remember, not that long ago, maybe in my early adulthood, having a picnic at the beach or something, and there'd be flies. You'd have to shoo the flies away. Like, I don't recall the last time I saw a fly. Do you see flies? Maybe I'm just not living in an area where there are flies, right? Southern California does not have a lot of mosquitoes, but except for the ones that they're releasing. So what about the ladybugs? What about bugs in general? What about insects? What about in the soil? And I do want to do a video for you about the harms of artificial grass, because that really drives me crazy. And I will give you a letter that you can send to people if you want to help educate them about the harms of this artificial grass. So that definitely kills the soil, kills the bugs. But the trees themselves are being killed. I spoke about that at great length in my interview with Renette about trees that are just falling that should not fall, but it's because they were rotted from the inside out. And my tree expert, Robert, who may be online with us right now, has also spoken about trees that are supposed to hold water are no longer doing so, and how they are unable to get the nutrients because of what is sprayed in the sky. Now, somebody who is a healthy American that I would love actually to interview, need to connect with her, Sophia Smallstorm, has done a lot of coverage about all of this stuff that's going on in the sky. And she has a great deal of knowledge, much better than mine. I just wanted to follow up on my story about the weird weather words and all of these other weird cloud words. And, you know, not only are we feeling depressed because of the lack of sunlight, but they literally are poisoning the air. And many of you have pointed out that that is what is causing people to feel sick. So when you're looking at what we're told is causing illness, it's like, well, what about everything that's in the sky? How do we actually process that? And one of the questions that comes up from people who don't believe that the government is doing this, or whoever it is doing this is they'll say, well, aren't they being exposed to it as well? Like, aren't they experiencing the same negative side effects? Why would they do that? That's the question. Well, we may not have an answer as to why. I think it's important that we ask those questions. But, you know, there are people that are evil. There are people that literally believe in solar screening. They believe in blocking out the sun. They actually believe that it's beneficial for the earth. It's a religion for them. And if they are, you know, very convicted in their religious beliefs about science, then nothing is going to stand in their way, even to their own detriment. They are going to follow that religion. So I think there's that. I also believe, and I'm not going to call them elites because that's a name they gave themselves. I mean, they think they're better than we are. I call them the evil doers, and I should just call them the nincompoops. That's like an easier word. I call them the nitwits also. We have to outwit the nitwits. These nitwit nincompoops actually probably have some sort of, I don't know, breathing treatment or apparatus where it cleans their blood and their lungs. So they're not worried about it. Or they are so brainwashed that they absolutely believe that this is the right thing for the planet. So it's very strange. Now, what can we do about it? Personally, I try to stay as healthy as I can. All right. I am not taking pharmaceutical products, and I certainly don't smoke. I'm only saying that about myself. I'm sure there's healthy Americans that may enjoy puffing on a cigarette. But in terms of keeping myself healthy to fight back against what they're doing, I don't have the power to flip the switch and make them stop. I do want to bring more awareness. I will be covering the legislation that's been introduced in New Hampshire. And I did do previous videos that are over at peggyhall.tv with some of these top leading experts all about this kind of stuff. And I will continue to do more. I have to tread a little bit lightly on this platform. So I'm using my code words and my snark to hopefully slide through with a little satire. I mean, how come JP Sears never has his videos taken down? He says things that are far more, I don't know, incendiary, bombastic, or what have you than I do, but he is still on YouTube. Okay. So that's what I have for you, friends. Try to keep your own self as healthy as possible. There are people that have told me that they've sprayed the air with vinegar outside their own area. Maybe that works. I personally like to do just a do-it-yourself detox bath where I take magnesium, like about a cup or two of just plain old Epsom salt, and I pour it in the tub, and that hopefully is supposed to be a detoxifying agent. And then I try to eat healthy, and I enjoy my life, and I enjoy my lovely, healthy Americans. It's the highlight of my day to come here and connect with you all. So join me tomorrow. And remember, I'm here every day, 4 p.m. Pacific. So don't wait for that notification. Just hop online with me. And I want to thank you right now for hitting that subscribe button, hitting the bell notification button, commenting, sharing, liking. We've got to outwit the algorithm on this channel because I'm hanging on with my 10 fingers and 10 toes. And if I do go missing, you know where to find me. I have a video all about that. Big shout out to the moderators. Thanks for being on board, and I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video. Be sure that you watch all of the other videos about weather that I will have linked for you in a playlist